Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is most of us live under a microscope that doesn't even exist. We think people are watching every move we make, judging every word we say, and weighing every choice we take. But the reality, people are too caught up in their own lives to spend much time dissecting yours. And even if they do, that's not your problem to carry. Detaching from opinions doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop letting their voice be louder than your own. Because the moment you allow their judgment to define you, you hand them the keys to your peace. Think about this. How many times have you held back from saying something, posting something, or trying something new because you thought, what will they think? That hesitation, that pause. It isn't protection, it's fear dressed as responsibility. And fear has a way of shrinking your life until it fits into someone else's comfort zone. But detaching from opinions pulls you out of that prison. It allows you to realize that what someone thinks about you is none of your business. Your job is to live in alignment with your values, not to audition for their approval. When you detach from opinions, you learn that not every comment needs an answer, not every criticism needs a defense, and not every person deserves front row access to your emotions. Most of the noise you hear from people isn't about you anyway. It's a projection of their own insecurity. If they call you arrogant, maybe it's because they lack confidence. If they call you weak, maybe it's because they can't admit their own fears. Once you see that their words are just reflections, not truths, you stop taking them personally, and that's when you become untouchable. Now, don't confuse detachment with arrogance. It's not about closing yourself off from everyone or thinking you're better than others. It's about emotional boundaries. It's about deciding whose voice matters in your life and whose doesn't. If you wouldn't trade places with them, why give their opinion so much weight? That's the filter you need. Would you let someone who's drowning in their own chaos be the captain of your ship? Of course not. So why let them steer your emotions with a stray comment or a careless remark? Here's the powerful part. The moment you stop living for opinions, you start living with freedom. You try the things you've been putting off. You speak without rehearsing every possible reaction. You show up as yourself without apology. And yes, people will still talk. They'll still judge. But you'll notice their voices get quieter not because they stop, but because you no longer have the volume turned up on their channel. And when their noise fades, you finally hear your own thoughts clearly. That's where strength lives, in the quiet confidence of knowing who you are without needing their stamp of approval. A practical way to practice this is to ask yourself one simple question. If no one had an opinion, what would I do? It sounds almost silly, but it's powerful because the answer reveals your true desire, not your fear. Would you start that business? Would you leave that relationship? Would you wear what you actually like instead of what's trending? That question strips away the weight of opinions and hands you back your voice. And when you act on it, you teach yourself that your worth is not up for a vote. Remember, opinions are temporary. They shift with trends, moods, and personal struggle. One day you're praised, the next you're criticized. If you tie your identity to that roller coaster, you'll live dizzy and unstable. But when you anchor yourself in your own values, in your own principles, you stand steady no matter how loud the crowd gets. Detachment is not indifferent. It's independence. It's saying, I see your words, I hear your judgments, but they don't get to live rent-free in my head. That is where the mindset of being unbothered begins. Every single day, life throws situations at you that test your patience. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a coworker takes credit for your idea, or a friend says something that stings more than they realize. And in that exact moment, your body wants to react. Your chest tightens, your pulse speeds up, and your mind starts drafting a comeback that you'll regret later. That's reaction. It's automatic, emotional, and often messy. But choosing to respond, that's where real power lives. A response is intentional. It's measured. It's the difference between a spark and a wildfire. Think about the last time you reacted on impulse. Maybe you fired off a text, raised your voice, or slammed a door. Did it feel good in the moment? Probably. But after the adrenaline faded, what was left? Regret, awkwardness, or more damage than you intended. That's the trap of reaction. It feels strong, but it leaves you weaker. A response, on the other hand, is not about winning the argument or proving a point. It's about protecting your peace, while still addressing the situation. It's strength with restraint, and restraint is what keeps you untouchable. Here's the truth. The pause is your weapon. That tiny space between what happens to you and what you do next is the most valuable real estate in your life. If you can master that pause, you control the outcome. When someone tries to provoke you, they're betting on your reaction. They want you to explode, to stumble, to lose your composure. But when you take a breath, collect yourself, and choose your response, you flip the script. Suddenly, you're in control and they're left powerless. That's why calmness is often mistaken for confidence, because calm people own the room without having to raise their voice. Choosing response over reaction doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. It means you give them space to settle before you let them speak for you. Anger, frustration, disappointment, they're real and they deserve acknowledgement. But feelings are like waves. If you wait just a moment, the wave will pass and the water will clear. Then you can see the situation for what it really is, not just how it felt in the heat of the moment. That's when your response becomes smarter, sharper, and far more effective than any knee-jerk reaction ever could be. A practical way to practice this is the rule of the pause. Count to 5 before you answer. Take one deep breath before you type that reply. Let the silence sit for a moment before you respond in a conversation. That pause is not weakness, it's strategy. It gives you the upper hand, because while others are ruled by their emotions, you are ruled by choice. And people notice that. They may not say it out loud, but they recognize the strength it takes to stay composed in a world addicted to overreaction. Another key to choosing response is remembering what outcome you actually want. Ask yourself, do I want to be right, or do I want to be effective? Because a reaction is often about proving you're right, while a response is about moving forward. If someone insults you, reacting may prove a point, but it won't bring peace. A response, however, can protect your boundaries and keep your dignity intact. That's the difference between someone who is controlled by circumstances and someone who controls themselves. And the one who controls themselves, they become untouchable. At the end of the day, reaction is noise, but response is signal. Reaction keeps you stuck in cycles, but response moves you forward with intention. When you learn to pause, to breathe, and to answer, instead of attack, you turn every situation into an opportunity to demonstrate strength. People might not remember what was said, but they'll remember how you carried yourself. And in a world where so many are quick to lose their cool, the person who responds instead of reacts stands out as the calm, steady, unbothered one. Walking into a room and owning your space has nothing to do with being the loudest or the most noticeable person there. It's about carrying yourself in a way that says you belong without needing anyone else to confirm it. Too often people shrink themselves, crossing their arms, speaking softer, avoiding eye contact, because they don't want to take up too much room. But the truth is, when you make yourself small to make others comfortable, you teach the world to treat you as less than you are. Owning your space is not arrogance. It's self-respect. Confidence isn't about volume. It's about presence. When you walk in with your shoulders back, your head up, and your eyes steady, you communicate something without saying a word. That quiet confidence tells people, I don't need to prove myself here. I already know my value. And that changes how people treat you. The energy you put out becomes the energy they respond to. If you act invisible, you'll be overlooked. If you carry yourself like you matter, people start to believe it too. Owning your space also means setting boundaries. Not every conversation deserves your time. Not every request deserves a yes. And not every insult deserves a response. The moment you start saying no, without apology, you reclaim power you didn't realize you gave away. People may resist it at first, especially if they're used to you always accommodating. But over time, they'll adjust, because deep down, people respect those who respect themselves. You don't have to shout your worth. You just have to enforce it. Think about the people you admire. It's not always their words that make them impactful. It's their presence. They stand tall. They speak with clarity. They don't rush to fill every silence. They create space instead of competing for it. And you notice them not because they demand attention, but because they hold it naturally. That's what owning your space looks like. It's refusing to be apologetic for existing. It's walking into a room as if you deserve to be there, because you do. A simple way to practice this is with body language. Sit with both feet grounded instead of tucked away. Keep your shoulders relaxed instead of hunched. When you speak, slow down and let your words breathe. These aren't just physical habits. They're signals to your own brain that you're in control. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. You'll stop second-guessing yourself because your body is already teaching your mind that you belong right where you are. Owning your space also applies to your goals. How often do you downplay your dreams because you're afraid people will think they're too big, too unrealistic, too ambitious? That's giving away your space. Stop making your vision small so others can feel comfortable with it. If your goals scare people, let them. Their fear doesn't belong to you. When you own your ambitions out loud, you give yourself permission to chase them without apology. And sometimes that unapologetic pursuit is exactly what inspires others to step into their own space too. At its core, owning your space is about alignment. Your posture, your words, your choices, they all match because they come from the same place of self-respect. And when you live in that alignment, people can't touch you. They may try to criticize, mock, or minimize you, but it won't stick because someone who owns their space isn't playing defense. They're not waiting for permission. They're already standing tall, already taking up room, already unbothered by opinions that were never theirs to hold. If you woke up tomorrow with only a limited amount of money in your bank account, you'd probably be careful where you spent it. You wouldn't hand it out to everyone who asked. You wouldn't waste it on things that don't matter. And you wouldn't keep giving it to people who never pay you back. Yet, when it comes to energy, we spend it recklessly. We let arguments drain it. We let negativity steal it. And we give it away to people who haven't earned it. Energy is a currency, and until you treat it like one, you'll stay exhausted and wondering why you feel empty at the end of the day. The first step in valuing your energy is realizing that not everything deserves your attention. Every text doesn't need a reply right away. Every invitation doesn't require a yes. And every conflict doesn't deserve your presence. Think of your energy like a budget. If you spend it on things that bring no return, you'll have nothing left for what actually matters. Protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's responsible. Just like you'd say no to a pointless expense, you have to say no to pointless drains on your peace. Look at the people in your life. Some build you up, some wear you down. Some add energy to your day, and others seem to drain it no matter how much you give. If energy is currency, then relationships are investments. The healthy ones give you dividends, laughter, support, encourage. The unhealthy ones only take withdrawals, criticism, drama, complaints. You wouldn't invest money in something that always loses value. So why keep investing energy into people who only leave you empty? Choosing where to invest isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Valuing your energy also means setting limits on how much you give at work, at home, and even in your own mind. Overthinking, replaying conversations, or worrying about things you can't control are all hidden drains. They're like subscriptions you forgot you were paying for. They take a little every day, until suddenly you're broke. The solution isn't to stop caring. It's to redirect your energy toward what you can actually influence. Ask yourself, is this thought fueling me, or is it costing me? If it's costing you, cancel it. One powerful habit is creating non-negotiables for your energy. These are the boundaries you refuse to bend on because they protect your mental balance. Maybe it's not checking work emails after a certain hour. Maybe it's leaving toxic group chat. Maybe it's taking time every morning to ground yourself before the world asks for your attention. These small habits are deposits into your energy account. The more consistent you are with them, the more interest you earn in the form of peace, clarity, and resilience. Another key part of valuing energy is understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. Some people thrive on pulling you into conflict because it feeds them while draining you. But when you choose silence instead of arguing, when you choose to walk away instead of engage, you're not weak, you're wealthy. You're saving your energy for the things that actually deserve it. You're deciding that your peace is worth more than proving a point. And that kind of discipline makes you unbothered in a world that runs on chaos. At the end of the day, your energy is your life in motion. Where you spend it determines what grows, and where you waste it determines what withers. If you keep pouring it into negativity, into people who don't respect it, into battles that don't matter. You'll always feel broke, no matter how much sleep you get. But when you budget it, protect it, and invest it wisely, you create a life where you're no longer drained by the world around you. You become steady, unshaken, and untouchable, because your energy is no longer for sale. It's easy to get trapped, looking in the rearview mirror. You replay old conversations, analyze mistakes, or dwell on people who walked out of your life. The problem is, when you focus backward, you stop moving forward. It's like trying to drive while staring only at what's behind you. You miss the opportunities right in front of you. Focusing forward isn't about denying the past. It's about refusing to live there. Because no amount of rewinding changes what's already happened. But every ounce of energy you spend, looking ahead, shapes what's next. The truth is, holding on to the past is heavy. Regret, grudges, failures, they all weigh you down like a backpack full of bricks. And the more you carry it, the slower you move. Letting go doesn't mean the past didn't matter. It means you're strong enough to not let it control your future. The people who hurt you, they don't deserve space in your tomorrow. The mistakes you made, they're lessons, not life sentences. When you focus forward, you drop the weight, and finally give yourself permission to run again. Focusing forward also means resisting distractions in the present that pull you sideways. Not every argument, not every piece of gossip, not every trend deserves your attention. When you know where you're going, you stop getting detoured by things that don't serve you. Think of a runner in a race. If they keep turning their head to see what others are doing, they lose speed. The fastest way to lose momentum in your life is to spend it comparing, competing, or reacting, eyes forward, not sideways. That's how you stay unbothered by noise around you. A practical way to practice focusing forward is to set small, clear goals that act like anchors. Instead of obsessing about what went wrong yesterday, ask, what can I do today that brings me one step closer to where I want to be? It doesn't have to be massive. Sometimes it's one phone call, one workout, 1 hour of focused work. Forward motion doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be consistent, because every step you take builds momentum, and momentum makes it harder for old patterns to pull you back. Another part of focusing forward is forgiveness, not for them, but for you. As long as you keep replaying old pain, you're still tied to the people or situations that caused it. Forgiveness cuts the rope. It doesn't excuse what happened, but it frees you from having to relive it. When you forgive, you reclaim focus. You stop rehearsing old stories and start writing new ones. And in that shift, you realize that your energy belongs to your growth, not to the ghosts of what should have been. When you live forward focused, you also learn to celebrate progress instead of perfection. Too many people freeze because they think they need everything figured out before moving. But progress is messy, progress is imperfect, and progress still beats standing still. Looking forward means accepting that you'll stumble, but at least you're stumbling in the right direction. And the more you lean into that mindset, the less time you spend criticizing yourself for not being further ahead. You start to appreciate how far you've already come, and trust how far you can still go. At the core, focusing forward is about direction over distraction. It's about choosing not to be defined by what's behind you, or distracted by what's around you, but driven by what's ahead. People may doubt you, circumstances may challenge you, but when your focus is forward, nothing sticks long enough to derail you. Because forward is where growth is. Forward is where peace is. Forward is where the untouchable mindset lives. And the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes.